one key warning sign for a cult is that they hype people up into believing. Do you hype people up?
No, not at all. In fact, most people who come along feel like they have been not hyped up and rather they come away feeling quite overwhelmed and quite like feeling like they have been disturbed rather than hyped up. And I feel if you interviewed most people who come along to our seminars, that's probably what they'd feel when they walk out.
Well, I observe a variety, depending on... some people walk away feeling really excited about what they've learned.
Yeah, perhaps.
But over time, I find that people still feel attracted to the truths that they're hearing. But it becomes, because this is a path, or the way is very much about introspection and working on oneself, then often people become more challenged by the level of work they realise is necessary in order to grow.
Of course.
Is that
I feel that's the case. And I feel that most people, while I'm encouraging, and I'm always encouraging about a person living in harmony with truth and living in harmony with love and being more humble, you know, that I'm always going to be very encouraging about doing those particular things. I don't feel that I have hype. Hype to me is a false or a facade drilled up to generate an emotional response in a whole collective group of people, and that is all manipulative. And I don't agree with manipulating people's emotions. I do feel that it's important to state the truth.
Yep.
So if I feel that God's a wonderful being, I'm going to state God's a wonderful being and all the reasons why I feel God is. Yep. And if that then hypes the person up, well, that's up to the person, like if the person's encouraged by that or not. For some people, they feel very angry when I make statements like that. So yeah, I feel like I don't hype people up. I tell people the truth, and I feel enthusiastic in doing so. That's what I do. And but I observe that many religious leaders, when they get on their pulpits on Sundays, hype people up. And I observe many politicians, when they were getting ready for an election, hype people up.
So how would you characterise that behaviour? What do you
Well, many times they're
up?
saying a whole heap of things that they personally don't practice and they personally don't believe and they personally don't do themselves, and they personally don't even do in their private life, but they're saying it all publicly in order to get a certain emotional response.
Right.
It's a bit like a politician talking about, like a politician in the USA talking about how important it is to have the right to life, and promotes not having abortion, when he himself has encouraged his wife to abort the child. To me, that's a person who's hypocritical and also just hyping up a group of people to get a response, which is his own election. So it's very selfish, and I don't do that ever.
And do you feel as well it's about capitalising on the emotions that people are suppressing within themselves?
Certainly.
That's what I see when
so when you know
up.
a whole group of people is afraid of a certain thing, and you know that saying a few words will actually help, make them all feel more afraid, and they'll agree with you, and that's what you want. So you say all those words, so you're just hyping people up there. I never encourage people's fear. No matter how much approval I'd get from it, I never encourage it. And in fact, I do quite the opposite. That's why most people are challenged. I never encourage people's anger. And that's why when most people get angry, around me, it's because they want to get angry, not because I'm encouraging it or hyping them up to do so. These are things that a person does who's manipulative, and I'm certainly not a manipulative person, as you know. And what I feel is quite often happening with regard to groups of people is that they are frequently hyped up based on the unhealed emotions that they have. In other words, what people are doing, people who are in power generally are doing, are manipulating the emotions of the individual so that the individual finishes up agreeing with the person's in power's policy or decision.
Yes.
And that is not a good leader at all. In fact, that's a terrible leader who does that, because they're just feeding the addictions of the populace. And I don't agree with feeding the addictions of any person, and particularly a large group of people. I'd never agree with feeding the addictions. And that's why divine truth grows very slowly, because I don't agree with feeding the addictions of people, individuals or groups. And I feel the person who's doing these things is generally feeding the addictions of people. They like engendering or encouraging certain types of emotions in order for them to get approval and therefore get a vote or to get some kind of, or even get a monetary donation, you know. You see a lot of this happening in New Age philosophy where, you know, people channel material because it makes other people feel good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't do that. I don't give information to people to make them feel good. I give information to people because I know it's the truth,
Yeah.
not because it makes them feel good. And sometimes it doesn't make them feel good.
Yeah.
In fact, many people have heard us feel like it doesn't make them feel good.
Yeah, what I notice when people get hyped up and manipulated is that they're often being told things that help them live in fear
Yes.
or live in their
addiction.
addiction.
Yeah.
So it's finding a downtrodden group of people and giving them
Yeah, it's like, to put it coarsely, it's like finding a whole group of people who are drug addicts and saying to them, I'm going to make a law that's going to let you be free to have any drug you want.
yeah.
You know, of course those people are going to be hyped up and going to feel great about that.
Yeah.
You're going to think you're someone to vote for, right?
Yeah.
But it's not for their benefit.
Yeah.
All it is feeding their addiction. Most of us don't realise that that's what's happening emotionally to us in many media presentations
advertising
and through
and
advertising and through
TV.
other mechanisms. Yeah, advertising is a great example of this,
Yep.
where adverts hype you up or get you to feel a certain thing, but it's in order to buy something or do something that they want you to do. And I'm not into doing that at all. Like, what a person does with their life right across the board is up to them. All I'm doing is presenting the truth. If you want to hear it, listen. If you don't want to hear it, don't.
Yeah.